In a stunning election upset, President Trump did what no Republican candidate has done for decades. He flipped Michigan from blue to red, helping him cinch the 2016 election.
I think President Trump has done a great job.
Has done a very good job.
In the face of tremendous opposition.
These are the voters who helped President Trump flip Michigan. We met them here just days after President Trump took office. We came back nearly a year later to find out how they think he's done.
A B.
An A for effort,
A B plus.
a B for accomplishment.
I say C+.
I give him an A.
An A.
Yes.
Bill Decker owns Lillian Cabinets, a sprawling factory in Adrian, Michigan, about an hour-and-a-half drive southwest of Detroit. Decker is very happy with what he says the president has done for his business.
We're growing 25 to 30%, so everything here is well.
So you say President Trump gets bulk of the credit?
Personally, I would say 99%. We double down.
Doubled down despite major concerns about Trump's threat at the time of tariffs on Chinese goods. Decker imports all of these cabinets from China. You're saying a big reason you can't make these cabinets here start to finish is because of all the regulations.
Yes, the regulations are both federal and state regulations.
So when the president talks about less regulation, less regulation, less regulation, you're sitting over here saying, I want that, but you don't have that yet in your business.
No, we don't, and I think it's going to take time.
You are concerned, is it fair to say, about the president's stance on immigration for your business?
Yes.
Why?
A third of the population in Adrian is of a Mexican Hispanic workforce.
You mean fewer immigrants in this country, worse for your business?
Worse, far worse.
Decker, like everyone we met here, recognizes the president hasn't achieved many of his major legislative promises yet. No wall, no Obamacare repeal or infrastructure plan yet. But most don't blame him. Is there anything the president could do that would lose your support?
Strange as this is going to sound, I don't think that's possible.
Since NAFTA was signed in the early 90s, Michigan alone has lost more than a quarter of its manufacturing jobs. And the promise you heard from the president so much on the campaign trail was that he would bring those jobs back. So far in the last year, though, manufacturing jobs in this state have barely budged. But across the country, a different story. More than 170,000 manufacturing jobs have been added so far this year, compared with a loss of 34,000 over the same period last year. You called NAFTA a shakedown
It was.
of America.
It was.
Did you vote for President Trump because he wanted to change NAFTA?
Right. He was talking about renegotiating NAFTA.
But for Sal Masheri, a nearly lifelong auto worker at Ford and an immigrant from Sicily, some of the president's promises have come up short. How's President Trump doing 1 year in?
He's not doing well, but he's not a politician. That's what it's all about. He's banging his head against the wall, but people are noticing it.
What grade do you give the president?
Well, right now, I would just give him a C.
What do you think the president could do to get a higher grade in your book?
Everybody's waiting on the taxes.
It is tax reform for you, number one now.
Numero uno.
If tax reform does not happen, does he get your vote in 2020?
No. Simple as that.
Trump is the first Republican presidential candidate Sal has voted for, after casting his ballot twice for President Obama. Now it's the division he's seeing that brings him to tears. This is really personal for you. I mean, you bring up your kids.
I'm afraid, okay, that they're not going to have a pension. They're going to be depending on a government for assistance, for medical, okay? You want your child to be dependent on that? No. You want them to be free. You want them to imagine. You want them to engage and have a future. It's called the human race, not the Republican or Democrat. It's called HR.
I think President Trump has done a very good job, considering the fact that he's had very little, if no, cooperation from Congress.
I think he's done well considering the level of pressure. I don't know that any of us could function under that level of pressure to literally have half of a country so against you.
But didn't President Obama face that same challenge?
No, I don't. I think you're going to always have those sections that we're not going to support Obama no matter what.
Mitch McConnell said, we're going to make him a one-term president.
Well, Mitch needs to retire himself.
Not a Mitch McConnell
No.
fan?
I think that Mitch McConnell serves a different agenda. I don't think he serves an agenda that's for America.
Where's the wall?
Well, the wall is going to come. We cannot blame Trump if the wall does not get built, because you do have the globalists like Mitch McConnell and many others, and McCain and many others who do not like Trump and are willing to put our nation at risk, our sovereignty, and not have the wall just because they have a personal vendetta against Trump. Oh, I know that.
Despite the praise we're hearing for the president from these Michigan voters, there's almost universal disappointment about health care reform. Repealing and replacing Obamacare was a signature promise of this president. Ricky Quinn says his health care costs are too high.
About $600 a month. That's what they take out of my pension check.
For you and your wife?
Yeah, the health care is actually a lot more than that because we pay a ton of stuff out of pocket.
He's gone from making $40 an hour as an auto worker just a few years ago to $14 an hour now working as a security guard. It's the best job he can find at this point, he says. You were counting on the president to get health care reform through.
Yeah, I believe that it should have gotten through. I know it's going to sound like I'm just a 100% Trump guy, but it's not the case. I really don't think it was his fault.
He said, Ricky,
Yeah,
day one,
absolutely right.
it'll be so easy. And
I think he's tried as hard as he can, but when you've got people fighting you like that, I really don't feel like he felt it was going to be that hard to do, and I still think he's going to get it done.
so does a fix to health care mean throw out Obamacare or work to fix some parts of it?
It depends. I think you pretty much have to throw almost all of it out. Some of the big things like pre-existing conditions need to stay, but as far as forcing people to buy insurance, I think that's way wrong.
Peggy and Jim Stewart have been married for 12 years, but they don't share the same politics. Peggy voted for President Trump. Jim did not. Both have been hoping for higher wages.
I still think he's staying with the agenda and the promises that he gave to us during the campaign, but the fight against him is just unsurmountable. I never seen any president be so disrespected and fought against as hard as he is.
Do you think Congress is fighting the president?
Oh, definitely the Democrats. I see it 100%, but and some of the Republicans, because, you know, like I've said before, he's not the status quo. He's not a puppet.
So what did Peggy and Jim get? So far, their salary hasn't increased. Their health care hasn't changed.
They got a man with a spine, that's what I wanted. A man that could think on his own 2 feet, that's what I like, and that's what we're getting.
Do you not blame President Trump at all for not being able to get any major legislation passed yet?
Well, I think his way of speaking to people could have a big difference on it, and his way of saying, well, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, this is it.
He could do it better.
Maybe a little bit more diplomatic in his conversation and his presentations.
After voting for President Obama twice, Peggy saw hope in President Trump, but she doesn't want all that he's selling. Do you want President Trump to repeal and replace Obamacare?
Maybe parts of it.
Not all of it.
I do believe there should be a universal medical
You want universal health care.
health care.
That's a very liberal position.
Well, there's other countries doing it, and successfully.
Is there anything the president could do to lose your vote?
Have bona fide proof that he has allowed Russia to come in and interfere with the election so that he would win against Hillary. That would very well upset me. I'd feel really stupid after that.
One thing just about all of these voters would like to see is the president break up with Twitter.
Please stop tweeting, please.
Do his tweets hurt him?
I believe they do.
And he's tweeting about it. I'm like, why did you even answer that? Come on, Mr. President, I know your mind is busier than that, but he's himself and he's different, and I kind of like it that he's different, but I wish he would just not do the playground stuff.
They may not like those tweets, but they haven't cost the president the support of many of his voters here, who feel like he's trying for them, if not succeeding for them yet.